Chapter 1. An Unexpected Arrival. Jack stepped off the shuttle onto the landing platform of Zephyria, the alien planet's atmosphere a blend of vibrant colors he had never seen on Earth. The sky swirled with hues of violet and teal, a stark contrast to the pale blue he was accustomed to. As he adjusted his translator device, he scanned the bustling port filled with beings of various shapes and sizes, each going about their business with an air of efficiency. Jack Harmon, a deep voice inquired, breaking his reverie. Turning, Jack faced a tall, slender Zephyrian male, his skin a shimmering silver, eyes a penetrating electric blue. The man extended a hand, his expression neutral yet curious. "Yes, that's me. And you are?" "I'm Zelnari, your liaison while you're here. Welcome to Zephyria, Jack. I hope your journey was comfortable." Jack shook his hand, feeling the firm grip and cool touch of his alien counterpart. "It was fascinating, thanks. Zephyria is more beautiful than I imagined." Zelnari nodded, leading Jack through the throng of the port. "Many are surprised by our planet. But come, we have a schedule to keep. I'll show you to your quarters and then a brief tour of the capital. You must be eager to start your work." As they walked, Jack noticed the architectural wonders around him, buildings that spiraled towards the sky, their surfaces gleaming under the planet's twin suns. "I've read about your advancements in technology and culture. It's an honor to be here to share ideas and learn from each other." "That's the plan," Zelnari replied. "Our council believes in the potential benefits of this exchange, although not everyone agrees." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Opposition. Some fear what your presence might bring. Change is not welcomed by all," Zelnari explained, his tone even. "I understand. We have similar sentiments on Earth in various sectors. But I'm here in peace, to build bridges." They arrived at a large complex adorned with flowing metallic sculptures and entered through a grand archway. Inside, the decor was minimalist yet elegant, with art pieces that seemed to float in the air. "This is where you'll be staying," Zelnari said as they entered a spacious room with a panoramic view of the city. "I hope you find the accommodations suitable." Jack set his bag down, looking around with appreciation. "It's perfect, thank you. And when do I meet the rest of the team?" "Tomorrow. Today, you rest. But first, let's get you to the dining hall. You must be hungry after your trip." At the dining hall, Jack was introduced to another human, Daniel, who had been on Zephyria for a few weeks. A fellow ambassador, Daniel had already begun to learn the nuances of interacting with the Zephyrians. "Jack, good to meet another Earthling," Daniel said, clapping Jack on the shoulder. "You'll find Zephyria to be full of surprises." They sat down to a meal featuring an array of exotic dishes, each more intriguing than the last. Zelnari described the ingredients and preparation methods as they ate, providing a cultural lesson with each bite. "Tomorrow, you'll see more of our capital and meet some key figures in our collaboration efforts," Zelnari noted. "It's an exciting time for both our peoples." Jack nodded, his mind buzzing with the possibilities. "I'm ready to get started. There's so much we can learn from each other." As the evening wound down, Jack felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. The challenges ahead were daunting, but the potential for meaningful impact was immense. Tonight he would rest, and tomorrow his mission would truly begin. Chapter 2. The Zephyrian Enigma. The morning light filtering through the translucent walls of Jack's quarters awoke him to his first full day on Zephyria. He dressed quickly, eager to dive into his duties and absorb everything he could about this alien world. At the dining hall, he found Zelnari waiting for him, alongside another human, Michael, who had arrived late the previous night. "Good morning, Jack. This is Michael, another member of our Earth team," Zelnari introduced. Michael extended his hand, a broad smile across his face. "Heard you made it in yesterday. How's the first night sleeping under a different sky?" "Pretty surreal, but I'm ready for whatever today brings," Jack responded with equal enthusiasm. Zelnari led them through the bustling streets of the capital to a towering building in the heart of the city. "This is the Cultural Exchange Center, where you'll be working. Today, you'll meet some of our leading academics and policymakers." Inside the center, they were ushered into a large conference room. The room was filled with both Zephyrians and a few more humans, all mingling and exchanging light conversation. A tall Zephyrian male with striking green eyes approached them. "Welcome, Earthlings. I am Sartek, the director of the center. We are very pleased to have you with us," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the spacious room. "Thank you, Sartek. We're honored to be here," Jack replied as they shook hands. The morning was spent in presentations and discussions about various aspects of Zephyrian society, from technology to governance. Jack was particularly struck by the openness and curiosity of the Zephyrians about Earth's culture. As the group broke for lunch, a Zephyrian approached Jack with a hesitant step. "Excuse me, Jack. I am Elira. I've read some of your work on cultural integration. Could we perhaps discuss it further?" "Of course, Elira. I'm delighted to," Jack replied, noting her reserved demeanor. They found a quiet corner in the center's garden, a serene area with flowing water and delicate, fragrant blossoms. Elira seemed to relax as she spoke more about her interest in human psychology and societal structures. "I find it fascinating how humans manage such diverse cultures within a single species. We Zephyrians tend to be more homogeneous," Elira explained. "It's one of our strengths, and our challenges," Jack admitted. "Diversity can lead to innovation, but also conflict. It's a delicate balance." Elira nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's something we can learn from you. Our homogeneity is peaceful, but perhaps too static. Your perspectives could inspire new ways of thinking." "I hope so," Jack said. "And I'm equally eager to learn from you. Your technologies, for instance, are light years ahead of ours." Their conversation deepened, touching on topics from art to education, each finding joy in the mutual exchange of knowledge. As the afternoon session began, Jack and Elira rejoined the others, their budding friendship a bridge between two vastly different cultures. The day concluded with a small ceremony where Jack, Michael, and the other humans were formally welcomed by the Zephyrian Council. Sartek spoke eloquently about the importance of their mission. "As we stand at the threshold of a new understanding, let us move forward with open hearts and minds," Sartek declared, his voice resonant in the gathering dusk. Later, walking back to his quarters with Michael, Jack felt a surge of optimism. "Today was incredible, wasn't it? It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly great." Michael agreed, his eyes alight with excitement. "Absolutely. The potential here is enormous. And Elira, she seems really keyed into what we're doing. You two seemed to hit it off." Jack smiled, reflecting on the day's conversations. "Yeah, I think she's going to be a great ally here. There's so much we can learn from each other." As the twin suns of Zephyria set, casting long shadows over the gleaming city, Jack felt a profound connection to this alien world. The challenges ahead were daunting, but the promise of mutual growth and understanding was a powerful motivator. Chapter 3: Bridging Worlds. The following day dawned with a flurry of activity. Jack and Michael met early for breakfast, planning their schedule. Today was about deeper cultural immersion, and both were keen to engage as much as possible. "Today should be exciting. We're scheduled to visit some of the cultural landmarks and attend a traditional Zephyrian performance," Michael said as they walked toward the Cultural Exchange Center. looking forward to understanding their art forms. Their aesthetics are quite unique, Jack replied, recalling the elegant designs of the buildings and public spaces they had seen. When they arrived, Zelnari was waiting for them, along with another human, Chris, who specialized in intercultural communication. "Good morning. Ready for an enlightening day?" Chris greeted them with a cheerful grin. "Definitely," Jack and Michael responded in unison. Their first stop was a famous museum dedicated to Zephyrian history and culture. Sartek joined them, eager to share his knowledge. This museum houses relics and artworks that are centuries old, each telling a part of our story as a people, he explained as they entered a grand hall filled with intricate sculptures and holographic displays. As they moved from one exhibit to another, Jack was drawn to a section displaying traditional musical instruments. "These are fascinating. Do they still use these instruments in contemporary music?" he asked. "Absolutely," Sartek replied. "In fact, there's a concert tonight where you'll hear them played." Music is a vital part of our heritage and continues to evolve. The group spent the morning exploring, and Jack took notes and photos, knowing they would be invaluable for his reports and presentations back on Earth. For lunch, they were joined by Elira, who seemed more relaxed in the less formal setting of a Zephyrian eatery. The group shared dishes that were both strange and delightful, discussing their morning's discoveries. "In your Earth music, what element do you think defines it?" Elira asked Jack, genuinely curious. "That's a tough one," Jack mused. "I'd say diversity is the key. Every culture contributes its rhythm, scale, and mood, creating a rich, complex tapestry. Much like your society," Elira noted. "Diversity in unity." The afternoon was spent at a cultural workshop where Jack and Michael tried their hands at a traditional Zephyrian craft involving the weaving of light fibers into fabric. Their attempts garnered good-natured laughter from the Zephyrian artisans. As evening approached, the group made their way to the concert hall. The building was an architectural marvel, designed to enhance acoustic performance. The hall filled quickly, a buzz of anticipation in the air. The concert was a revelation. The traditional instruments combined with modern technology produced sounds that were ethereal and haunting. Jack felt the music resonate, a visceral connection to the soul of Zephyria. After the performance, as they walked back under the twin moons, Jack reflected aloud. "Today was incredible. I feel like I've touched something ancient and profound. It's been an eye-opener," Michael added. "Seeing their traditions alive and vibrant gives me a lot of respect for how they preserve their heritage while embracing the future." "Exactly," Jack agreed. "There's a lesson in that for us. Balancing respect for the past with openness to the future." The day ended with light hearts and minds full of new ideas and appreciations. As they said their goodnights, Jack felt a deep satisfaction. This exchange was not just about sharing knowledge. It was about building lasting connections that would enrich both their cultures for years to come. Chapter 4. Forbidden Knowledge. Jack woke up to a message blinking on his communicator. It was from Elira, asking if he would be interested in a private tour of some less well-known cultural sites that were not typically accessible to outsiders. His curiosity piqued. Jack quickly agreed, arranging to meet her after breakfast. He shared the news with Michael and Chris at the dining hall. "Elira has something special lined up today. Seems like we're going beyond the usual tourist spots." "That sounds amazing. You'll have to share everything later," Chris said, his interest evident. "Will do," Jack promised as he finished his meal and headed to the designated meeting point. Elira greeted him with a smile, her demeanor hinting at the excitement of sharing something deeply personal. "I'm glad you could join me, Jack. Today, you'll see a side of Zephyria that very few from outside our world ever witness." Their first stop was an ancient library, hidden away in a district that wasn't on any map Jack had been given. The building was old, its walls lined with carvings that told stories of Zephyria's past. Inside, texts and artifacts were preserved under protective fields. "These are original manuscripts and objects from our early history," Elira explained. "Much of this is unknown even to many Zephyrians. They're considered too sensitive or revealing for broad public knowledge." Jack was awestruck. "Why show them to me?" he asked. "Because true understanding comes from sharing not just what is easy, but also what is hard. Our vulnerabilities and strengths are intertwined," Elira replied, her gaze steady. As they moved from the library to a secluded garden once used by Zephyrian philosophers for contemplation, Elira continued to open up about her culture's complexities. "This garden is where many pivotal ideas in our history were conceived. Ideas about our place in the universe, our social structures," she shared as they walked among fragrant alien blooms. Jack listened intently, absorbing every word. It was one thing to read about a culture in books. It was another to hear its secrets spoken aloud by one of its own. In the quiet of the garden, their conversation gradually shifted from the cultural to the personal. Jack found himself sharing his own fears and hopes for his mission on Zephyria. "I want to make a real difference," Jack confessed. "But sometimes I worry that the barriers between our worlds are too great." Elira stopped walking, turning to face him. "Barriers can be broken," she said softly. "It takes trust, understanding, and sometimes it takes someone willing to share their world's hidden truths." Their final destination was a small observatory overlooking the city. As they gazed at the stars, Elira pointed out constellations significant to Zephyrian mythology. "These stories in the stars guide us, remind us of our past trials and triumphs," she said. "Maybe one day we could have a new constellation, one that represents our shared journey." Jack smiled at the thought. "I'd like that. It's been incredible today, Elira. Thank you for trusting me with the real Zephyria." As they headed back, the city lights twinkling below them, Jack felt a profound connection to this alien planet. Elira's trust in sharing her culture's secrets had not only deepened his understanding, but had also solidified his resolve to ensure this intercultural exchange succeeded. Back at his quarters, Jack recorded everything from the day, determined to honor the trust Elira and her people had placed in him. Tomorrow he would share with his team, ready to use the insights gained to bridge the gap between human and Zephyrian worlds even further. Chapter 5. The Taste of Taboo. The next morning, Jack joined Michael and Chris for an early breakfast. The air was buzzing with anticipation as Jack shared his experiences from the previous day. "I was shown parts of Zephyria that aren't typically open to outsiders. It was eye-opening," Jack recounted, his voice low but filled with excitement. "That's huge, Jack. It sounds like you're making significant inroads with Elira and her connections," Michael remarked, sipping his coffee. "It's more than that," Jack replied. "It's about building trust. And speaking of trust, Elira invited us to a private cultural ceremony tonight. It's rarely witnessed by outsiders." Chris looked intrigued. "What's the occasion?" "It's a celebration of celestial alignment, something that happens only once every few decades here. It's steeped in tradition and, according to Elira, quite transformative," Jack explained. The day passed quickly, filled with their usual duties and preparations for the evening. As twilight approached, Jack, Michael, and Chris dressed in the traditional garments provided by their hosts, a gesture that signified respect and participation. They met Elira at the outskirts of the city, where the ceremony would take place under the open sky. The area was illuminated by soft lights, and the atmosphere was reverent. "Thank you for coming," Elira greeted them, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Tonight, you'll experience something very special." As the ceremony began, Jack felt the gravity of the moment. The Zephyrians around them started chanting in a rhythmic, hypnotic tone, while elders performed intricate dances symbolizing the celestial bodies in motion. After the ceremonial dances, Elira led Jack a little away from the main group. "There's more I want to share with you," she whispered, guiding him to a secluded spot where they could talk privately. Under the canopy of stars, their conversation deepened, turning to the connections between their people. Jack was moved by Elira's openness and the gentle way she approached the complexities of their burgeoning friendship. "The taboo of sharing these moments with outsiders is strong," Elira confided. "But I believe in the power of new beginnings. What we're doing, what you're helping to do, could change Zephyria's outlook on the universe." Jack took a moment to respond, choosing his words carefully. "I'm honored, Elira. And I'm here not just to observe, but to understand, to really connect." Their discussion continued, and slowly, the space between them diminished. Tentatively, Jack reached out his hand, palm facing up in a universal gesture of peace and connection. Elira placed her hand in his, her touch light. "It's strange," Jack mused, "how something as simple as a touch can feel so revolutionary." Elira smiled, her expression wistful. "Sometimes, the simplest actions are the ones that hold the most power." They spent the rest of the evening talking quietly, sharing thoughts about their worlds, their cultures, and the unexpected feelings that were starting to form between them. When it was time to return to the ceremony, they did so with a new sense of closeness. As the night wore on, the ceremony concluded with a spectacular display of lights in the sky, a natural phenomenon unique to Zephyria. Jack, Michael, and Chris stood together, profoundly affected by the beauty and the depth of the evening. "Tonight was incredible," Chris commented as they walked back. "I can see why Elira wanted us to be here for this." "Yeah," Michael agreed. "It feels like we're not just visitors anymore. We're part of something much bigger." Jack nodded, feeling a mix of emotions. The connection with Elira was unexpected but undeniable. As they returned to their quarters, Jack felt a resolve forming within him. This mission was about more than diplomacy. It was about forging bonds that could defy the odds and maybe, just maybe, break down the barriers that had long stood between their people. Chapter 6. Shadows of Doubt. The newfound intimacy between Jack and Elira, while profound, did not go unnoticed. Whispers began to circulate among both the human and Zephyrian communities, leading to an undercurrent of tension that Jack could no longer ignore. One morning, as Jack and Michael walked towards the Cultural Exchange Center, Michael voiced his concerns. "Jack, you've heard the rumors, right? There's talk about you and Elira. Some aren't too happy about it." Jack sighed, a frown creasing his forehead. "Yes, I've heard. I knew this wouldn't be easy, but I didn't expect the backlash to be so personal." "It's tricky," Michael agreed. "We're here to build bridges, but it seems like some only want to fortify their walls." At the center, the atmosphere was noticeably cooler. Sartek approached them with a grave expression. "Jack, Michael, there's been a call for a meeting with the Zephyrian Council. It seems there are concerns about the nature of your interactions with certain members of our community." "Understood," Jack replied, steeling himself for the confrontation ahead. Later that day, Jack, accompanied by Michael and Chris, faced the council. The chamber was imposing, designed to intimidate with its high ceilings and long shadows. One of the council members, an elder named Vosgerin, addressed Jack directly. "Your relationship with Elira has raised concerns about your mission's intentions. Can you explain your actions?" Jack met Vosgerin's gaze, his voice steady. "My interactions with Elira have been nothing but respectful and professionally driven. We share a mutual interest in deepening the understanding between our cultures. But isn't it true that you've participated in private ceremonies and been granted access to restricted areas? Another council member interjected. Yes, and it was all in the spirit of cultural exchange, Jack defended. Every society has its secrets, and sharing them can be a sign of trust. The room buzzed with murmured conversations among the council members. Sartek, who had been silent, finally spoke. Perhaps it is time we reconsider the boundaries of this exchange. We value our relationship with Earth, but not at the cost of our traditions. The meeting adjourned with no clear resolution, leaving Jack feeling frustrated and isolated. As they left the chamber, Michael put a hand on Jack's shoulder. Hang in there. We'll figure this out. Over the next few days, Jack found himself sidelined from several key projects. The strain was evident, and even his discussions with Elira became strained. Meeting her one evening in the garden, he couldn't hide his dismay. Elira, this isn't how I wanted things to go. If our friendship is causing problems, maybe it's best if we— No, Elira cut him off, her voice firm yet gentle. What we are doing, exploring the possibility of a true cultural synthesis, is worth the challenge. Don't think for a moment that this is wrong. Jack looked at her, the moonlight illuminating her determined expression. I just don't want to be the reason you face hardship. Elira reached out, taking his hand. You're not the reason. The resistance we face is born from a fear of the unknown, from change. But change is necessary. They stood together in silence, the weight of their situation settling around them like the evening fog. Finally, Jack nodded. All right. We'll face this together, whatever comes. That night, Jack wrote a detailed report to his superiors on Earth, explaining the complexities they faced. He didn't know what the outcome would be, but he knew retreating wasn't an option. Not when there was so much at stake, for both their worlds. Chapter 7. The Cost of Love. The tension surrounding Jack and Elira's relationship reached a tipping point when the Zephyrian Council summoned Jack for another meeting, this time to make a definitive decision about his continued presence on Zephyria. Michael and Chris accompanied him, their solidarity unwavering in the face of the escalating pressure. Upon entering the council chamber, Jack found a larger audience than before, indicating the gravity of the situation. Among the attendees was Sartek, who had previously shown some sympathy towards Jack's efforts. Jack Harmon, began Voscarin, his voice echoing through the chamber. You have been a catalyst for much discussion among us. Your actions, while not malicious, have stirred concerns about the preservation of our cultural integrity. Jack stood firm, his resolve clear in his eyes. I understand the concerns of the Council, but it's essential to recognize that true cultural exchange does not dilute integrity. It enhances understanding and fosters greater respect among differing peoples. A murmur ran through the room. Sartek then stepped forward. And what of Elira? She stands at the center of this controversy. How do you justify the potential repercussions she might face within our society due to your association? Before Jack could respond, the door to the chamber opened, and Elira herself entered. Walking straight to the front, she addressed the council with a commanding presence. This is not just about Jack or myself. It's about what we, as a society, aspire to be, Elira stated, her voice steady. If we choose isolation over understanding, we deny ourselves the growth that the universe offers us. Her words struck a chord, and whispers of agreement fluttered around the room. Jack, seizing the moment, added, Our mission was never to challenge your traditions, but to find common ground where both our civilizations could prosper together. Sartek considered their words thoughtfully, then turned to the council. Perhaps it is we who must reflect on our principles. Are we to retreat from every potential change, or do we have the courage to explore new possibilities? The council convened in a private session, leaving Jack, Elira, Michael, and Chris in tense anticipation outside. After what seemed like an eternity, they were called back in. Vosgerin stood to deliver the decision. "We have deliberated on the matter and have concluded that the exchange program will continue, albeit under stricter regulations to ensure that the core values of our society are not compromised. Jack Harmon, Elira, you are urged to proceed with caution and respect for our customs." Relief washed over Jack and Elira. As the chamber began to clear, Sartek approached them. "You have challenged us to think beyond our boundaries, and for that, you have my respect. But tread carefully, for change is a powerful force." Outside the council chamber, under the now familiar glow of Zephiria's twin moons, Jack and Elira shared a quiet moment of reflection. "We've been given another chance, Elira," Jack said, taking her hand. "Yes, and with it comes great responsibility," she replied. "We must not only respect the limits set by your people and mine, but also strive to show that this partnership can yield positive outcomes." Jack nodded, feeling the weight and the promise of their path forward. "Together, then," he affirmed. "Together," Elira agreed, her eyes reflecting a mix of determination and hope. As they walked back to the Cultural Exchange Center, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but it was one they had chosen to walk together, fueled by a shared vision of unity and understanding. Chapter 8. A New Dawn. The days following the Council's decision saw a tangible shift in the atmosphere of the Cultural Exchange Center. Jack and Elira worked diligently, conscious of the delicate balance they needed to maintain to respect both Zephyrian traditions and the goals of the Earth delegation. With Michael and Chris actively supporting them, they structured programs that were carefully designed to foster mutual respect and understanding. One morning, as the group met to discuss the day's agenda, Michael brought up an exciting proposal. "I think it's time we organized a joint cultural festival, showcasing the best of both Earth and Zephyria. It could be a symbol of the progress we've made." Jack nodded in agreement. "It's a brilliant idea. A celebration of unity and diversity. Elira, what do you think?" Elira's face lit up with enthusiasm. "It would be a perfect way to demonstrate the fruits of our collaboration. I can arrange for artists, musicians, and speakers from various sectors of Zephyrian society." Chris chimed in, "and we can contribute with Earth's cultural elements. Music, art, even some culinary delights." The plans for the festival kicked into high gear, with each member of the team bringing their strengths to the forefront. Jack focused on logistics and diplomatic channels, ensuring everything would run smoothly and without cultural missteps. As the festival day arrived, the air was charged with excitement. The venue was decorated with a blend of Earth and Zephyrian styles, creating a vibrant tapestry that was both alien and familiar. Visitors from all over Zephyria and the Earth delegation mingled, sharing stories and laughter, marveling at the displays of cultural heritage and innovation. Jack walked through the festival with Elira, taking in the joy and camaraderie around them. "Look at this, Elira. Who would have thought we could pull this off?" he remarked, gesturing to the bustling crowds. "It's more than I hoped for," Elira responded. "To see our people engaging with each other so openly, it's like witnessing the dawn of a new era." Throughout the day, there were performances by Zephyrian and Earth musicians, creating a melodic fusion that resonated with the festival goers. Workshops and panels facilitated discussions on technology, art, and philosophy, where both Zephyrians and humans learned from each other's viewpoints. As the festival drew to a close, Sartek took the stage to speak to the assembled crowd. "Today marks a significant milestone in our journey together. This festival is not just a celebration, but a testament to what we can achieve when we look past our differences and focus on our shared humanity." The crowd erupted in applause, the sentiment echoing through the hearts of all present. Jack and Elira exchanged a look of quiet satisfaction, their earlier trials now translated into this moment of triumph. Later, as they helped with the cleanup, Michael slapped Jack on the back. "You did it, man. We did it. This is going to be remembered as the beginning of something great." "Yes, it will. And we'll keep building on it," Jack replied, his voice firm with resolve. That night, Jack recorded a message to send back to Earth. "Today, we witnessed the power of cultural exchange. We've started something that has the potential to grow beyond anything we initially imagined. Here's to a future where we continue to break barriers and build bridges." As Jack signed off, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He and his team had not only managed to navigate through a complex web of cultural sensitivities, but had also laid the groundwork for a lasting partnership. Under the twin moons of Zephyria, Jack, Elira, Michael, and Chris stood together, looking up at the stars, their hearts full of hope for what the future might bring. In the distance, the last notes of the festival music faded into the night, leaving behind a promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities.